What's going on, Jets fans? So the 49ers and Eagles game just wrapped up, and towards the end of it, Jets Pro Bowl defensive tackle fired out a tweet that was, of course, deleted, but also, of course, screenshotted, and the internet is forever. Quinnen said, now Bosa see what I'm going through, no offense, right? Quinnen obviously referring to the fact that it's harder to muster up a pass rush when your offense isn't keeping the game competitive and the other team has to stay balanced. Where have we seen that before? Well, I think we've seen that before with this overrated Jets defense. Apparently the 49ers defense is not elite. They're overrated too because they gave up all those points when their offense and special teams were drawing dead, not helping them. A drum I've been beating the last third of the season, right? When this defense is overrated. Dude, and they're not top 5. Remember, they're not top 5. The Jets defense was not top 5. Now, can anyone ever, at any point, list 5 defenses that are better? No, they can't, but that doesn't matter because that's not how it works, apparently. I'm weird. I do it like if there aren't 5 better, then they're top 5, but not everybody does it that way. Different strokes, fine. They were top 5 in yards per game allowed, top 5 in points per game. You want to talk about DVOA, which takes into account opponent and circumstance and situation and weather and what they had for breakfast that morning. In DVOA, they were still 5th in the league. Top 5, any way you cut it. And if you look at some other defenses that scored really well, 49ers, Buffalo, Philly, all those teams throughout the season had like top 10 offenses. All had competent offenses that forced the other team to remain aggressive, that it sometimes even played with a lead. Imagine that, so they get their pass rush going. Had good special teams and good offense to help with the time of possession and field position. Our defense doesn't know what any of that looks like. Our defense was put up against it time and time again and was the only thing that gave us a fighting chance on a lot of these Sundays. Really was. The second our defense gave up 20 points, it's like, oh, we're overrated. They're overrated. Overrated. It's crazy. It's crazy the standard that they set for themselves, and it's ironic how big of a compliment that is. The second they flinch, they're overrated. Wild. And yeah, you can't force a lot of turnovers and get a lot of sacks when the other team is in their 4-minute offense to start the game. That's what Philly was doing. Okay, you can't score. We're just going to run it out. And if you think I'm exaggerating because they lost all their quarterbacks, well, the 49ers in that game still had more passing yards than the Jets did against the New England Patriots at New England. The 49ers had a higher completion percentage in that game than the Jets did on most of their outings, many of their quarterbacks. The 49ers had more yards per attempt with Brock Purdy throwing with a broken elbow and Josh Johnson out there and Christian McCaffrey chucking up a couple of balls than the Jets did in a third of their games. And then the Fox commentator says it's really hard to win a game without any threat at quarterback. Yeah. We can confirm this. The defense was unbelievable this year. Unreal. Think about that game against New England. That's pretty much the offensive output the Jets got in that game is pretty much what the 49ers were dealing with. Except the Jets were worse. And the only reason we lost that game is a punt return at the end. Jets defense gave up 3 points in that game. They're giving up like 13, 16 points down the stretch, and they're overrated. My goodness, if we had any kind of offensive output, if we scored league average points just on a per game basis, we would have won 11 or 12 games this past year. It's crazy. And, I'm watching the final 3 teams now. I'm recording this right before the Bengals and Chiefs game gets started. And I'm looking at these last 3 teams that are left. And I'm thinking, what do all 3 of these teams have in common? All 3. Do all 3 of them have an elite offensive line? No, since he doesn't. Do all 3 of them have an elite top 5 coach? I don't know. Or is Zach Taylor or Nick Sirianni a top 5 coach? Not both of them, right? Do all 3 of them have an elite defense? No. Do all 3 of them have elite wide receiver and running back room? No, Kansas City doesn't. Do they all have elite tight ends? No, since he doesn't. Do they all have elite special teams? No. What is the one thing that they all are excellent at? It's quarterback. They all had a top 5 quarterback. Oh, Jalen Hurts is in top 5. Again, there aren't 5 guys better, so let's not do that whole thing. This year, he was going into 2023. Can you name 5 guys you think you'd rather have than Jalen Hurts? Were there 5 guys better this year? No, there weren't, especially with his rushing ability. It's amazing how in the age of it's everything but the quarterback, right? That's the undefeated take. Anybody could do that behind that offensive line, right? Anybody could do what Brock Purdy was doing in San Fran. Anybody, literally anybody off the street. Anybody could go behind Philly's offensive line and play like Jalen Hurts. It's weird because you know who doesn't believe that? You know who doesn't subscribe to that philosophy? The really smart and competent GMs who put together those excellent rosters in Philly and in San Fran. Because Jalen Hurts, who apparently anybody could do that, is about to get a 50-piece this offseason. A contract extension close to $50 million a year he's going to get. Isn't that weird? Why would they waste $50 million when they could get any quarterback to throw in there? And with that stacked team, they'd be great. Why? What do we know that Philly doesn't know? Weird. Same thing with the Niners. Any bum off the street could go in there and do what Brock Purdy did, which was go on like a 7-game win streak, putting up like all pro stats, like 30 plus points a game, and be better than Jimmy G. Any 7th round rookie, any of them could come in and be better than highly paid veteran with experience in the system, Jimmy G. Wow. Dude, can the Jets get one of these 7th round rookies that are immediately better than Jimmy G? And we have an apples to apples comparison. He literally elevated the offense from what it was before. And Kyle Shanahan also disagrees that anybody could do that because he invested 3 first-round picks to go get Trey Lance. Jimmy G has like $100 million career earnings. Why? Why would they waste $100 million and spend 3 first-round picks on quarterback when literally any 7th-round pick could do it? He would have just taken those 3 first-round picks, gone all around the team, and then he would throw in, I don't know, whatever, Mike White. He would throw in Mike White and he would win the Super Bowl every year. Why? Why doesn't he do that? Because of course. Because of course. Because it's become a hot take to give quarterback a lot of credit or blame in 2023, and it's wild. And it's wild because it's the most important position in sports, and everybody knows it. and you know, it's weird how Zach Taylor was like whatever, a 1-15 coach, and then Joe Burrow catches his stride. And it's just weird. It's weird how there's almost never a really good coach that's never had a great quarterback. That's weird. Now there are great quarterbacks that have, had crappy coaches. We've seen that. We see, is it Belichick or Brady? Yeah. Tom leaves and has Belichick won a playoff game, and Tom immediately goes to a team that hadn't won a Super Bowl in 2 decades, and it's an automatic. It's a ring. Right away, it's a ring. Man. And Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the sport, and there he is, 5 straight AFC title games. Even though his wide receivers are hurt, his defense is sometimes good. They lose Tyreek. It's quarterback, man. It is quarterback. Brian Daboll, look what he's doing. Yeah, Brian Daboll's a damn good coach. He took Daniel Jones his rookie year, threw 24 touchdown passes. Okay, so he took Daniel Jones from a below-average quarterback and made him an average quarterback. They're not miracle workers. There's no coach that could take Josh Rosen and turn him into Joe Burrow. But these quarterbacks can be great even with bad coaching. Look at Deshaun Watson comes out into Houston. Turmoil, mess, baller. Immediately, Joe Burrow, horrible offensive line, new head coach. Doesn't even have Chase yet. My goodness, he was the truth immediately. Justin Herbert comes in, bottom 5 offensive line. No notice to start. No preseason, nothing because of COVID. A defensive coaching staff that is about to get fired. And he's a dude. Matt Stafford. Yeah, you can see it. Everybody looked at Matt Stafford and said, that dude is really good, but is clearly being held back by circumstance. It's obvious. It's obvious to our eye. And then he goes to a competent organization and he wins a ring. Right? So Matt Stafford goes from a Pro Bowler and then gets elevated to a Super Bowl champion. Daniel Jones, below average to average. Yeah, but we talk in sports like you could take a colossal bust and, if this guy would have went there, he'd be Burrow. Or yeah, if Mahomes was drafted by the Jets, he'd be trash. Give me a break, man. Get a freaking quarterback. Go Jets.